All right, Chuck, here we are with Draymond Green yet again. What do the Golden State Warriors do? What's their role in this? Because it feels like the commissioner can suspend him and it doesn't matter.
You know, one of my favorite people in the world is Herm Edwards. He's one of the great men, not great coaches, one of the great men I ever met. And he would say, "Hey, you know what? The NFL is not going to do anything to you. But you know what? My job is not just to win football game. My job is to teach you to be a grown ass man." He says, "I'm gonna suspend you." I think the Golden State Warriors, because Adam doing something really doesn't matter.
Mhm.
But when your boss says, "Hey, you know what? It's time for us to sit you down," because you just lose money when the league suspends you. I think you need to be embarrassed when your boss says, "Hey, you know what? You're hurting the team. I'm gonna do something to you." So I think it's up to the Golden State Warriors to, "Hey, you know what, Draymond? You've been great for this organization, you've been great for the team, but you're not worth the effort. We tired of dealing with this BS." So I think the Warriors need to step in and say, "Hey," even before Adam does anything today, because he's gonna get suspended. If the Warriors came out and said, "Hey, can we handle this situation?" I think that would be the right thing to do, Dan, personally.
Yeah, but I don't know if you say, all right, we're going to suspend you for 10 games. I don't think Draymond can be embarrassed. And I think that's part of the problem that you cost your team, with the suspension in the NBA Finals. The number of times, like 20% of the games, I think he's been thrown out of this year. I mean, he's become an embarrassment for the NBA. Maybe the Golden State Warriors go, hey, he's a necessary evil here.
Not anymore. It's a necessary evil when you're winning, not when you're losing. And he's frustrated because he can't play the way he used to play. That's probably what as a player, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, oh man, because I'm not saying this because I like Draymond. Everybody likes Draymond, but then I started doing stupid stuff when I couldn't play anymore. It was very frustrating. Like my last 2 years with the Rockets, I sucked as a player. I actually hit Othello Harrington. Nobody knows about it. Othello Harrington, I hit him in practice because he was working so hard and there was nothing I could do about it. So I threw him down. And Rudy Tomjanovich, who I really respect, is we're gonna vote and you're not gonna play. And I was humiliated, but it was because I couldn't play anymore. So I was playing dirty. I see the same thing with Draymond. He's not the same player, and he's frustrated. But one thing about you have to go old gracefully because he's accomplished a lot in this game. But when you can't play anymore, it's very frustrating. And that's what you see now from him. That's what I see as a player.
And they let him talk after the game. I would think if you got kicked out of a game that they wouldn't have you on the podium. But, I mean, he loves the attention.
Yeah, but Dan, I'm going to tell you something. I noticed something he does, and you can just tell. He always says, "I'm not going to apologize for anything." That's his go-to response. I'm like, nah, dude. Because he said the same thing last time he was suspended. He said, "Well, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to apologize." He said the exact same thing last night. I'm like, yeah, that's a flaw, bruh. You letting people down. It's all right to say. One of the biggest problems with celebrities today, Dan, not just Draymond, they're afraid to say, "Hey, you know what? I really screwed up. It's my fault." They have their handlers like write these stupid statements and things like that. I tell them, I say, it's all right to say, "Hey, you know what? I was wrong." But nobody wants to do that. Draymond needs to say, "You know what? Last time I got suspended, I was wrong. I was wrong for what I did tonight." And I don't know if he has the pride. He needs to say it. "Hey, you know what? I was wrong and I let my team down again." That's what he needs to say. None of that, "Hey, I'm not going to change. I'm who I am, what I am." No, that doesn't work anymore because you're not the same player. Bill Cowher, somebody I really admire. We were talking about Chip Kelly one day when he cut all his good players and he got traded to the when he took over for the Eagles. And Bill Cowher, somebody who called me, he says, "Hey, you know Chip Kelly?" I said, "No, I never met Chip Kelly." He says, "Tell him quit cutting all his good players because he don't like them. This is not like college where you can just roll another 2-star, 3-star out there." He says, "Sometimes your players are You just have to deal with them. I mean, Bill Cowher, I'm telling you, I love Bill Cowher, but he called me out of the blue. And I mean, I know him, but he called me out of the blue. He says, please tell Chip Kelly, this is the pros. This is not college. You can't, even though you don't like a guy, you put up with a guy. Because he cut Deshaun Jackson, he cut LaShawn McCoy because he didn't like him. He said, tell him this is not Oregon. You don't have to like your players. He did. He said, you don't have to like your players, but you have to deal with when you're coaching today. It was really a funny conversation.
We're talking to Charles Barkley, the Hall of Famer. You can check out King Charles with Gayle King Wednesday nights at 10 Eastern on CNN. But I think the Golden State Warriors are culpable in this. They're complicit. Because if I go back to the Jordan Poole moment, when Draymond punches him, nobody rushes to Draymond and like, what are you doing? Like, they didn't do anything. They all just kind of like meander, like this maybe, Jordan Poole had it coming or Draymond does this kind of stuff. And they kept him. And then they got, eventually got rid of Jordan Poole. And I'm sure he's emboldened by that.
Well, I think what happens, Dan, you see it all the time in sports. Everybody always amazed and shocked. I always laugh. I said, man, shut the hell up. I says, if you're a good player or a great player, you can get away with murder. And nobody says anything as long as you're winning. The problem what's happening with Draymond now is they're not winning anymore. Yeah. But Dan, when you win, players can get away with anything. I'm amazed when the public be all, oh, I'm outraged. I'm like, why are you outraged? When you're winning, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. But like I say, the problem with Draymond now is they're not winning. That team's not any good. But, there's nothing they can really do because they're stuck with him. I think he signed a 4-year extension. And so he's going to be there no matter what.
Yeah.